Mr. President,
We're in a quorum call, Senator.
I ask unanimous consent to eviscerate the quorum call.
Without objection. Senator from Oklahoma.
Thank you. Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent the following senators be permitted to speak prior to the scheduled vote. Senator Lankford, myself, up to 5 minutes. Senator Marshall for 2 minutes. Senator Schumer, up to 5 minutes. Mr. President, we are about to vote on an issue dealing with the national emergency here in the United States, dealing with the pandemic. There's been no great shock that we function under a lot of additional authorities that are happening, but I want to provide a bit of clarity into this conversation as well. The measure that we're dealing with right now, dealing with COVID and the pandemic that's here, we also know there's a global pandemic. An improving medical situation here doesn't necessarily mean an improving medical situation everywhere, nor should it change what's called Title 42. Quick explanation on this. Surgeon General, CDC, HHS all work together with the President to be able to recommend that based on the public health crisis that we're currently under, Title 42 states this: whenever the Surgeon General determines that by reason of the existence of any communicable disease in a foreign country, there is a serious danger of the introduction of such disease in the United States, and that this danger is so increased by the introduction of persons or property of such country that a suspension of their right to introduce such persons and property is required in the interest of the public health, the Surgeon General, in accordance with the regulations approved by the President, shall have the power to prohibit the introductions of persons or property from such countries' place they shall designate. That's Title 42. Why does that matter to us? Because in the last 2 years, our country along our border has been managing much of the border based on Title 42. Now, it is no secret to anyone in this room, I would assume everyone in this room knows, we had the highest number of border encounters, that's people illegally crossing our borders, last year in the history of our country. Over 2 million people illegally crossed our borders. What some may not know is last year, 900,000 of those were brought into the system in the United States. 1.1 million of those were turned around at the border with Title 42 authority, meaning because of the pandemic, because of the risk and the crisis of the introduction of additional individuals who are likely to have COVID, they were turned around at the border. The concern is, and I have raised this concern over and over with CBP, what is your plan post-pandemic for the Title 42 authority? Now, I want everyone to think about last summer. Last summer, what was happening in Donna, Texas. Last summer, what was happening in multiple places along the border where our facilities were overrun with people and not manageable. That was when we were introducing 900,000 people into the country. What does that look like this summer if there's 2 million people in that group coming across? That's why I want to make it very clear that what we're voting on now has no effect on Title 42 authority. We continue to have serious health concerns, as Title 42 states, in many other countries, and I have continued to encourage DHS, have a plan in place. Currently, they do not. It appears that their plan is, once Title 42 goes away, all 2 million will get into the country. I think that's a serious problem, and I think it's something that we should address. In the meantime, we should not relieve Title 42, and this vote does not change anything with the Surgeon General's decision on Title 42. By the way, a Surgeon General position that has been in 2 administrations in a row to be able to be maintained on this. So just to clarify for this body, this vote has nothing to do with Title 42. That is a Surgeon General responsibility, but this body needs to do additional oversight to make sure DHS is paying attention to what's happening at our southern border, because we could very well have 1.1 million additional people illegally cross into the country, not just across the border and be returned, but actually into the country in the days ahead. With that, I yield.